So if you've ever had this question about the behind the scenes of immigration interviews, keep watching this video. Hello everyone, I'm Attorney Marvin, and I've been practicing law for over 20 years and specializing in immigration law for over a decade. My main office is in Grand Rapids, Michigan, but I help individuals and families from any state in the country and really any country on the planet. So stick around for a little while because I want you to get a Disney view of behind the scenes for naturalization interview and what it means for this very important question. I had an interview, and after I passed the test, after the interview, the agent told me I can't make a decision. Deer in headlights, right? What do you do? What does this mean? Are you done? Do you have to start from scratch? What the heck does it mean? Okay, so I wanted to provide this information because that is a situation that is happening more and more lately. Why? Because immigration is constantly trying to adjust their processes and procedures, mostly because of training, because there's a lot of new agents that don't really have the experience to know what to do. So what does it mean if you go through, you didn't think there's any problems with your case, and you're now told by the agent that they can't give you a decision? What the heck does it mean? Well, I'm gonna make you feel better, okay? It might not mean a whole lot, okay? So don't get bent up. So immigration, it's all about adapting to the agent in the room at the time and the president in office at the time, okay? It's kind of a crazy time. So what does it mean for you if you're told this? Okay, typically what it means is the agent needs to confer with their boss, their supervisor, in order to make a decision. Yes, they have the power to do things, and they have power to make a decision, whether it's to approve or to deny. But because so many of these agents are inexperienced, they don't know what the heck half the stuff in there means, and they're buying time, okay? So does that mean that you're never going to hear back from them? No. Immigration has an obligation to provide an answer to you, okay? They can't just leave it up in the air indefinitely. So if you're told this, you will get a correspondence from immigration. Typically, it's a written communication from them. Typically, it comes in the mail anywhere between 5 seconds and 2 weeks, or maybe even longer, from when you have your interview. That gives them the time, the agent the time, to look through their notes and to check it from, against the policy that immigration has recently been following for them to be able to make their decision, okay? If you had a complicated case, it might take longer than that, okay? Complicated cases meaning you've been in and out of the United States, you have a prior history of deportations, you've had immigration violations, your application was incomplete or not completely filled out properly, you're a public charge, you have medical issues, the list goes on and on and on. So there's any number of reasons why the government agent might need more time before they can make a decision, okay? So it's not the end of the world. Like I said, typically what they will do is they provide you something in writing telling you what their decision is and or asking for additional information. The request for evidence, everyone knows what an RFE is. It's a little bit different when you get to your naturalization interview because technically the field office doesn't issue an RFE, but they issue something that's exactly the same thing. It's just not called an RFE. So they may ask you for additional information about something in your record. It could be criminal records, it could be tax records, it could be child support payments, it could be any number of things about your relationship with your sponsor, divorce. It could be anything under the sun that relates to your immigration case, whether it was part of your green card case or whether it's specifically for this naturalization request. If you've had any crimes within the last 5 years or even the last lifetime, they could be asking you for more information about that, okay? So they will tell you what they need, or they will give you a decision. Unless I have had a client that's had problems or had additional documents that they needed to provide that wasn't asked for previously in an actual RFE, usually they give you about 2 weeks before they issue the notice telling you what's going on. Almost always, if it's not a decision that's communicated to you at the time of your interview, it's because they need a bit more information, okay? Like I said, it could be any of those things that I just mentioned, tax documents, things like that, okay? So what do you have to do? Wait and be patient, because it will come. If it doesn't come, is there something you can do? Yeah. You reach out to the field office. You call them up. You call up USCIS, and you go through their phone tree, and you wait and wait and wait. You might have to contact your congressman or senator if you're not getting traction from USCIS. But typically speaking, when you get to this phase of the operation, it's just a matter of time. You're not going to have to do a whole lot more about it. It's possible you do, so keep that in mind. But really, it's waiting for them to give you that piece of paper telling you what happened. On that piece of paper, it could be a long description of information that they talked about at the interview. Especially if there's a criminal history, they could be doing something that they're not supposed to do, which is ask for more and more information after the fact instead of before the fact. Usually you're supposed to get that information beforehand so they can make a decision at the interview, but sometimes they're not organized, okay? So it could be that too. So if you get that letter and you do have questions about it, you can reach out to me. You can look at the description, and oftentimes when you get to this phase of the operation, things are pretty cut and dried. It'll say there in black and white what the problem is and what your rights are. So I've had clients in the past that went to their interview and they actually had to either request that the government give them a hearing so that they could talk about some of the things that were discovered at the time of the interview so that they can correct any inconsistencies or explain themselves to the government. All that information is in there, but there is typically a 30-day period of time that you have in order to exercise your rights with a request for an appeal or a request for a hearing to go over the information in their decision. Oftentimes, that piece of paper in the mail is the decision with a full outline of what happened and what you can do to correct it. So again, don't despair. Information will come in the mail. Like I said, it's usually within a month. If it's longer than that, you might have to rattle their cage a little bit and get them to provide that information to you. But again, don't despair, because it's usually something that can be fixed. It's usually something that can be supplemented so you can move forward with your dream of getting citizenship. Like I said, click the link below if you have any questions about your interview and what it may mean, or if you need help in responding to something, you can click the link below and reach out directly to me.